Good morning. How are you all doing out there? Okay. I'm going to give some opening remarks here and a welcome before we get kicked off with the session. I think my first opening remark is, phew, we're here. We're here at a launch event in the year of COVID. We may be the only business-to-business event to launch in the US in 2021. But somehow we got here with about 100 guests coming and 50 plus sponsors and great presenters along the way. So few is the opening remark. So what we're going to tackle in this first session is to provide a baseline on the key concepts that we have for transformation, the why and the what, and get some experiences and insights shared with us from a couple of trailblazing builders. Throughout the executive forum, Joan Webb, who's former CMO and now an advisor to the new home company, and myself will be co-hosts. We haven't done this before live. We've been talking about it. We hope it works.
We hope it works.
And our panelists include Richie Eubanks, who's the president of Hughston Homes in the Southeast, Gena Kirk, Gena with an E, not an I, who's the vice president of corporate studio at KB Home, and Mark Lamoureaux, who's been around for a while in this space, co-founder and president of Alpha Vision. And we'll start off with just a little bit of background on the origins of this housing transformation event concept. I want to acknowledge a lot of folks who've contributed to the development of the event, and walk through these key concepts that I referred to. We'll get some additional perspective from Joan and Mark, and then we'll dig in with Gena and Richie on their stories, on how they've progressed and implemented some of the key concepts, and maybe we'll have time for some Q&A. So that's the flow. So, origins of the event. Some of you have been to our Tech Home Builder Summits, which we launched in 2014. We actually celebrated the 20th anniversary of the Tech Home Builder brand, so it was launched in 2001. And when we launched Tech Home Builder in 2001, it was the .com era, right? And so if you went to the International Builder Show, there was some home tech. It was kind of a fledgling category, maybe some structured wiring systems and such, but there was a lot more IT solutions and business plan on the back of a napkin, plans to disintermediate the supply chain. So when we launched the publication Tech Home Builder in 2001, we had this dual focus on home technology and solutions for builders. And then the .com bubble burst, and there were a lot fewer companies in that IT space. And the reality is, the team that was behind the launch of Tech Home Builder had a lot more experience in the home technology space. So the solutions space, the digital solutions piece, didn't quite have center stage with Tech Home Builder throughout its history. So nonetheless, when we launched the hosted events, we had a lot of digital solutions players who remembered the dual mission that we had in the publication, and they were coming to us, and we tried to address it with a segment within Tech Home Builder. And then I think during this pandemic period, as we were thinking through strategically, we're like, we need to give that more focus. And not only do we need to give the digital solutions piece more focus, we need to do it the right way, right? And so I guess digital transformation is a term. We didn't call this the Digital Transformation Summit, but digital transformation is kind of a fancy term for applying IT solutions the right way to any business. So you get one level of lift when you just apply IT solutions to a business with existing processes. You get a whole other order of magnitude level of lift if you simultaneously re-engineer your processes throughout the organization to become more customer-centric and competitive. And that's the formulation that we came on as we tried to figure out how to address digital solutions. So this is a seeing eye chart slide, but it captures the kind of the grandiose purpose that we're trying to address for home building here, which is getting more market share. You know, there's no industry that has more statistics. I think I love it because it has so many statistics in home building, but we typically see starts and sales, and we see new homes in isolation, and we rarely see it figured into dollars. It's about unit sales. But when you put the dollar attachment to it, it's a 3.5 trillion-ish sized market, and used houses are getting the vast majority of the market share. And other segments are getting significant market share as well, rental and home improvement. So our goal with this event is over time to help builders improve market share. And I think what that means for individual builders is more gross profit and less risk if you have a bigger share of the market. So how do we do that? Top of the list here is achieving what I'm calling order of magnitude differentiation for new versus used. So what is that? Maybe it's 100% better. That new is 100% better than used. That we get the same sort of perception on new homes versus used houses for new cars versus used cars. Everybody knows a new car is better. We've got to get to the point where people recognize a new home is really better and the thing that you want. So, you know, the way we think we can do that, and that we're addressing here in this conference, is to accelerate the pace of incorporating innovative features and on-trend features into homes. Going back to this idea of re-engineering processes, how do we change the vendor relationships so there's an embrace of innovation? So it's not about give me the same thing from last year at 20% less. It's about how do we sell the value of an innovation and an on-trend feature, you know, and how do we really make that happen? It's not just about saying, yes, when something's new, it needs extra promotion, it needs extra training for subs, it needs more attention to the customer care component. So we need a holistic approach to incorporating innovation much more quickly. So new is better than used, not just right now, but on an ongoing basis. Once we've got a product that's a winner versus used, now we turn to leveraging digital from a marketing and sales perspective. So we can compete way more aggressively for all of the home buyers out there at the edge. I mean, historically, we had a disadvantage because selling homes was about show and tell, and we were always going to have an inventory disadvantage versus used houses. But in digital, we can play bigger, and we can get the attention of more buyers, and then let's use what's really turned into a superior digital marketing set of tools in terms of virtual tours, 3D, interactive tours, even playing with digital design tools before an initial transaction. Let's use that superior digital marketing set to engage buyers, get them to yes, and once we get them to yes, let's sell the living daylights out of options to them and personalize. And personalizing is one of those competitive factors versus used houses that we can definitely use to our advantage. Then at the end of the day, having used digital to grab the buyer, to track their journey, and to capture what they want included in that home, we have a documentation of the journey and the as-built home. And now we're sitting on a digital asset, an information asset that we can use to tap into lifetime value, to the aftermarket opportunities. You know, some estimates out there are 40% of the initial transaction price will be spent on aftermarket stuff for that home. So how do we as builders tap into those dollars and take some share on the home improvement and maintenance side of things? So those are our key concepts. There's maybe a little more to that as we dive into some of those sectors, but ultimately we're trying to drive increased market share and gross profits for builders. So to get here, there's a lot of folks we need to thank. First of all, everybody here at the table was part of our advisory council, and we had a lot of ongoing conversations and some meetings and really got their inputs into the key concepts. One of the faces here on the vendor innovators side of things is Mike Moore, who's really was, I'm sure a lot of folks here know Mike and his teaching and coaching over the years, and many of his key concepts are resident in what we're trying to accomplish here with housing transformation, the idea of being more aggressive from a sales and marketing, new home retailing, so to speak, to put it in Mike's terms, the idea of personalization and selling finished homes is certainly one of our key concepts. And we're sorry that Mike's not able to join us and participate in this program, but he's got some family health issues that he has, rightly decided are his focus at this moment, and he can't join us. But without Mike Moore, there wouldn't be a Housing Transformation Summit. But I want to thank all of the advisors. I want to thank all of the presenters that you'll be hearing from over the course of the next 2 days. We've got 50 plus sponsors for a new launch in the middle of COVID, and great representation on the digital solutions side in particular. So it's always an act of faith for sponsors to do something new. This is like a triple act of faith for them to be here for housing transformation. So thank you to all of our sponsors. Guest companies, 55 companies representing 160,000 plus homes built, 65 to 70 billion in annual revenue. Thank you for tearing yourselves away from your supply chain issues and your demand issues and order taking issues. It wasn't easy, and we appreciate you coming out and being part of this and visioning beyond the success and all of the requirements of the moment to a future that will be evolutionary or revolutionary for you. And I really want to thank our A-Venture staff. We're not done, finishing the run here and completing on execution with you all. But to get here was kind of a miracle. This is our third event in 3.5 months. We produced 2 Tech Home Builder Summits, one in August and one in October. And we had a lot of content to create here. We had a lot of guests to recruit and convince to be torn away from stuff that was much more urgent. And everyone on the team made a great contribution, and I have to thank particularly my ambassador of Quan, Nancy Franco, because she is with me side by side as we pursue new events, and she makes so much of it happen working with the rest of our team. So thanks A-Venture staff for getting us to this moment and for being ready to serve all of these great folks for the next 2 days. So with that, I'm done with my opening remarks and key concepts, and I want to turn to Joan and Mark for a little bit of additional perspective as folks who've been on the journey with us for these 20 plus years.
All right, thank you, John. Hello, everyone. And I've got to say, it's such a pleasure to see this many folks in our industry out together. So thank you for braving masks on planes. John had asked me to just briefly go over my personal journey of this whole transformation in housing, and it just coincides, 20 years. So 20 years ago, the second largest private home builder next to Shea was a company called Joan Homes. And 20 years ago, they decided to take a niche in luxury housing, and at that time, we can all laugh, it was $1 million and up, was the line in the sand. for luxury housing, and they asked me to head up the design studio. And so like everyone else in this business, what did we run into? I reported through operations. That was a lot of fun. And try to figure out ways of getting site managers to embrace hundreds of thousands of dollars that could be potentially spent on choice and on personalization. So imagine 20 years ago. So somehow or another, I persuaded my boss, or my boss's boss, to break me away from operations, allow me to hire dedicated a purchasing team that only purchased for the design studio, which through my journey has not always happened, and I've got to say that is one of my keys to personal success, is to having dedicated purchasing folks only worrying about options and personalization. And then Mike Moore, so a name you just heard about. I'm a disciple of Mike's, and we brought Mike in, and somehow or another got him to coach from the very top of the organization, from our president through every last customer care, designers, and salespeople. So in other words, every single person in our organization was touched by Mike. And so what are some of those themes? Obviously, customer-centric, but with the ability to say no when it was the right thing to do. Everything about the buyer experience, meaning that if a home buyer was upset with a decision made somewhere down the chain, that they could not call the president of the division, who normally would just say, no problem, we'll handle it for you. He was trained and coached, and he was a recovering people pleaser, as Mike used to call them, and not allow a home buyer to break the chain and go to the top, or whatever part of the organization. And that was quite transformational. And the other key was all around technology. So around that time, I bought a system called Options Online, which to this day, 20 years later, I still happen to think is a very, very solid back office, front-facing design studio software technology. And from that experience, the company was sold at the top of the market right before the crash for $1.2 billion to a company called Emaar in Dubai. I had the pleasure of working for the Dubai company as well, but we won't get into that. We would need a lot of cocktails to talk about what that experience was like. And then to the New Home Company, which was founded 11 years ago, handpicked the first 10, 15 folks. And the idea was to deliver something that at all price points of the market, to deliver that same high-level experience of personalization and customization, regardless of price point, and to have the very top of the industry, customer care, buyer experience marks, and we achieved that. I expanded my role and talk about transformation to be able to manage sales, marketing, branding, design studio, and technology. And to have that all under one team was very helpful in achieving what we were trying to do. And under the whole umbrella of our transformational effort, and that brought us here to today, which about 2 months ago, our company was sold to Apollo. Many of you will know that, a big New York fund, and took the company from a public company to a private company, and is going to infuse millions and millions of dollars in growing what we think was a transformational company into something having a very much larger footprint in the market. So that's my story, and I hope I can add some context and some interesting comments and some good facilitation along with John today. So thank you.
Thank you. Mark?
Thank you, John. Yes, so it's been quite a ride. We started the company in 1993. Do you think we can get the slides? I think. Yeah.
Sorry.
I like that quote from Wayne Gretzky. I skate where the puck will be, no, not where it has been. And we got some builders like Shea Homes that we've been involved since the late 90s. And believe me, they made us skate. We sweat a little bit, which is great. That's the way a company evolves. So just a little history, just to see how transformation in the digital space has happened, just milestones. When we started in 1993, our pitch to the builders was to say, you hire an artist to make a hand-drawn elevation rendering, then you have to take a photo, scan the photo in a 4x5, and then it's digital. Imagine, that was our pitch in 1993. And since the years, that was disruptive at the time. So there's always had been something more disruptive that came in. The first interactive floor plan with Shea Homes in 1999. The website of the year that won multiple awards. I was really proud to be able to launch that with Shea Homes. And today, interactive floor plans are kind of a commodity, right? Selecting options in black and white. Then we launched the DSA, which was dedicated to support the sales associates, again with Shea Homes, which has been great in learning how the relationship between the sales associate and the buyer is so essential, not only at the sale, but until the delivery of the home. Then virtual reality, which we launched in 2018. Now, I like what is happening since COVID. The word show me, show buyers the home, especially when we talk about competing with used homes. When you're looking, example, on the Zillow platform, when you're looking at both, you know, a lot of buyers are interested by either a new home or an existing home, a used home. Well, when you look, you know, you see often a piece of dirt because the Google map is outdated by 2 years. How do we compete when they're considering, am I going to buy new or am I going to buy a used home? And I think that's the market share that John was referring to. Before we even compete against the other builder down the street, there's a huge market share just to take away from used homes. And how come we all want a brand new car? You know, how come it's difficult to steer someone to shiny and new? And so there's something there that can be done. And since COVID, more and more, we see some stats here. 72% of shoppers always search to have some kind of virtual tours, something visual. Show me the product. That's really what buyers are saying now. And it's increasing. You see those stats from New York City, 10 points from the year before, 9 points. So that's really something growing more and more. And now, if we talk about disruption, all those years, only now, 2 years ago, we would have never heard that. Transact a home online. Configure your home on the web, get the price, transparent pricing, and being able to make the first reservation. And now, 2 years ago, that's what we call about adoption of technology. A late majority to a late early adopters to the late adopters, the early majority kicking in. And that article from Builder Magazine and CNBC, national builders launch virtual home buying platform. Big builders are launching new programs where buyers can do the whole process online. Is that it yet? But it's coming. And this is very exciting for us. Quote here from Cheryl Palmer. Sorry, that was a buyer, actually, that bought from Taylor Morrison. A few years ago, people laughed at buying your car online. And that lady, I just bought a house online. So that was actually on CNBC. And Cheryl Palmer, just about their system, taking early reservations, talking 1,500 shopping carts and close to 60% conversion. So that's interesting. And no surprise, you know, if we look at home buyers are basically consumers. You know, let's not pretend we control their experience. They're already educated by other brands and other products. So that's coming into the home building process. From Pulte Group. A few years ago, people laughed at buying a car online, and I just bought a house online. So builders now are looking at those opportunities to be able to be more transparent on the process like other products are. When you buy a car, you know how much it's going to cost you. The price is sent, and somebody contacts you. So this is a process that is coming for us and changing the industry. So another little example are the transformation of used homes. Isn't that true that now if you're looking to purchase an existing home, you can visit anytime, right? You can have a tour of the home, you can have, with Open Door, you can have a visit done on your schedule, which is, you know, most often not on working hours. So just again, here, I like to bring opportunities from talking about Shea Homes. This is a good example here. I don't know if I can make it play. Yeah. So this is a community here in Arizona at the Phoenician. And this is a presentation where we can walk in the street, select our elevation, always in the context of the community as it will be when it's delivered. The views, the actual views, especially there, the views are outstanding. And this is a great community built by Shea Homes. But let's think, if we visit during the sales phase, what do we see on site, right? We see the construction crew. That's not appealing. This is not, if you buy a used home, you see the neighborhood when you go and visit that home. So this is an opportunity to be able to communicate the vision, show the product, how it's going to be built in the future. So it's very exciting to be here. And I always try to look, you know, the way disruption happened in the past. If you want to know the future, look at the past. It's been very exciting all those years. And we really look forward to the next steps. And thank you for all of you builders that make us work harder and harder. And we promise to continue to skate.
Cool. Thanks, Mark. So we're going to turn it over to Joan and Gena to talk a little bit about personalization and options, which are passions for both of y'all.
Okay, great. We can have a little conversation. You guys can all listen in. So first, I've got to say, Gena, you and I spent many, many years in the same industry, a mile apart, and had never met. So, John, thank you for bringing us together. It's really crazy. Second is my personal admiration that you represent a company, one of the largest home builders in the nation, that has always embraced choice and always embraced technology. And that is something really unique. And I'm happy that thank goodness, not all builders are the same, right? Otherwise, we wouldn't have any differentiation.
Absolutely.
I just want to interject
Yes.
that Lisa Kalmbach, your predecessor, was on the cover of Tech Home Builder magazine in the first year in a KB design center 20 years ago. So you guys have been at this for a while.
And the first time I met Lisa was on a panel with you in Long Beach, and I don't know how many years ago that was. So there you go. This just means we're getting old. Okay. Gena, talk to us about the soup du jour of packaging. And it seems that so many builders feel that that is the way to still offer a level of choice with accelerated schedules and supply chain and blah, blah, blah. Tell us about your feeling on packaging.
You know, I think packaging works for a lot of builders. KB has founded on innovative design, personalization, affordability, and partnership with our buyer. So we chose to kind of stay true to what we have been doing since I started with the company in 1997, and offer choice. We've been through a process throughout the last 10, 15 years of trying to figure out what that looks like, trying to ensure that we are staying customer-centric and communicating the vision to our buyer of what their homes can look like. Back about 15 years ago, we embarked as part of a collaboration with Envision. At the very beginning, trying to figure out what was that going to look like so that we could offer choice to our customers in a digital format. Along that way, we did a lot of work internally as a builder. We had at the time, I think, 13 divisions across the United States, all offering their variety of choice to meet their market. Some same things across divisions. So we embarked upon a journey to create a global list, which meant that we had the same option across all of our divisions, and it meant the same thing. We implemented processes that brought different regions together to build that global list and work with our suppliers to ensure that we had the right choice for our buyers. And then we started to embark on the implementation of technology.
And so as packages of good, better, best.
We at KB, again, stay away from that because we want our buyers to have the ability to pay for what is important to them. And we found through trial and error that our buyers ended up breaking them. And at KB, because not only does the buyer get to choose their home site, they choose their plan, they also choose their structural options. Those packages become a little hard to manage. And again, we're a larger company with a lot of plans and a lot of divisions, and just trying to communicate that to a buyer was very difficult. And at the end of the day, they ended up breaking them anyways. Then you mix in product discontinuation and having to always manage them. And what we found is the juice just wasn't worth the squeeze for us.
So it's kind of counterintuitive that packaging, which would seem to simplify choice and make implementation more profitable and efficient, actually ends up creating inefficiencies where personalization doesn't.
It can. I mean, it's working for other builders,
Yeah.
right? And so we're going to learn from what they're doing. What we did instead is we took a real hard look at our data, our market intel, suppliers' input, and we reduced our offerings by 47% back about 7 years ago. And we're going through the process again. And I will tell you, we probably have another 30% to go.
Yeah.
Of offerings.
Of offerings,
In
just
your menu.
reducing and really understanding what your buyers are really wanting to pay for. Now, we're a builder that 65% of our buyers are first-time home buyers. They're the millennial customer, and what's important to them is very different than what's important to our, move up, move down buyer. In addition, we have an ASP at $350,000 to $2.5 million, so that also adds some complexity. But we have a really good process in which we collaborate with our suppliers to understand trends that are what I want to say pedestrian trends, things that our buyers are really going to buy, not just be in awe of, but actually purchase. And so we're constantly looking at that and just reducing and fine tuning. And the job is not done, thank God. That means I still have employment.
We're never done, right? Let's shift, because we only have a couple minutes, let's shift to the technology that you deployed around the pandemic. And what's worked, what are you gonna keep, what are you looking forward to on the technology side?
When we got that notice on March 13th that we were shutting down our business, we all got really nervous. And so I had to bring in people and think fast on our feet. And luckily for us, we had a lot of digital tools that we just weren't using in the way that they were designed to be used, such as Matterport tours. We had implemented Envision in 7 of our 19 divisions. And so we kind of understood what the buyer needed to know. So we were able to quickly pivot in those divisions that, overused word, sorry about that, in the divisions that we didn't have Envision. So we had our Envision online studio. We really leaned into our Matterport tours, which we found very interesting because one thing we didn't have is visualization, and that's what customers really want. They want to see, what does that cabinet look like with that countertop, with that floor tile. And so by leaning into our Matterport tours, which luckily we were able to turn fulfill that need of visualization very quickly. So between online tours, leaning into our suppliers' content, our online studios, we went 100% virtual, and for about 7 months, we had a 100% virtual experience in the studio. Since then, we have...
and that included, I'm assuming, some kind of Zoom, Teams,
absolutely.
Meetings.
Yep,
and
it was 2
face-to-face.
Two meetings. First, we started with Zoom, then we moved to Teams, using our digital tools, screen sharing with our buyers. Since then, we have kept that virtual experience for appointment 1, and we have asked our buyers to prepare. We've given them homework. It's their home. Let them have the homework of understanding what they want coming in, letting us know more about their design style and their lifestyle. And so that first appointment is a little discovery, but we already have a lot of information about what's important to that buyer. we're able to get through those preliminary choices and then bring them into the studio to touch and see and feel and make those final decisions that they were not able to do digitally. Yeah, and I expect to continue that. It's more convenient for the customer. It's working really well.
It's a great principle in sales, right? If you get a buyer to do some work, and I'll put quotes around work because we want it to be fun, but if you get them to engage and do some work, they're going to be way more likely to make a buy than if it's a passive situation.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
There you go.
Very cool. So we are still running short on time, and now we're going to turn to Richie for, I do need that clicker. Thank you so much. So Richie, start off, tell us a little bit about Hughston Homes, because it's not quite the same industry profile that KB has.
Yeah, we're a family. We're actually an employee-owned company at this point as of October 1st, but Hughston Homes was started in 1972, and for the majority of that time, a smaller home builder, 20 to 50 units a year up until the early 2000s. At that point, Jack Hughston took over the company and began to scale it, and probably around the time of the downturn is really when Hughston Homes got legs and started to grow. It was,
Interesting timing.
yeah, it's one of those things. In adversity comes opportunity, I think. And this year we'll build 650 houses, so we've kind of scaled that point.
Yep. And you're another Mike Moore disciple
I
and
am.
have implemented a lot of this, but let's talk about the kind of innovate to differentiate side of things, what you're doing to create space between your new homes and used homes.
Yeah, you know, we the COVID thing that we all talk about really created some opportunity for us to you use the word pivot, but up until that point, we always invested a lot of money in our sales team. We've always figured, no matter what the market was like, if we could get a customer or a potential home buyer in front of our sales team, they'd make the sale. You know, we're Mike Moore disciples, other sales trainers that you guys would recognize. So this goes away, and it was different in different parts of the country. Our sales team continued to work even though most home buyers weren't willing. So our sales team continued to go to the model home. Our inside salespeople at that point, John, their job was to try to get the home buyer, potential home buyer, on a Zoom call, on a FaceTime with our sales team in our model home, so we could keep the personalization piece of it, and communicate the advantage of buying a brand new Hughston home versus a used house.
Yeah. Talk about the stuff in the houses themselves in addition to the process. So.
Yeah, so, we, again, it's market to market on what you're going to find technology-wise. But the things that we really drilled down on were our luxury design features. We're not a starter home builder. We put quite a bit in our homes from get-go. Second, third time buyers, so you're going to find. As far as technology goes, John, we're going to include a base package. Your Ring doorbell, your front door lock, lights, thermostats, and allow people the opportunity to basically run their entire home from their cell phone, which is the remote control for your whole life now.
That's cool. You're pushing the energy efficiency piece. You're in a hot climate where there's a lot of AC running. I mean, it's a huge benefit. I think sometimes we just forget about how big of a differential there is on energy consumption from a new home and a used home. And in markets where there's a lot of energy used, north and south, that's a key factor. Yeah,
and we dial that in so much as our new home salespeople will talk to people about the per square foot cost of their power bill. This home average would be about 4 cents a square foot. Yeah. What are you paying for your home now? We'll demonstrate the features. Let them feel the heat coming out of an attic in a used house versus a brand new home where you open it. Yeah. Temperature's relatively the same. These are things we demonstrate.
How do your folks demonstrate something like that?
Well, we'll talk about where they may live now. What's your power bill now? Are you in an apartment, house? We try to do some discovery questions, and then when we move into our home again, we would, open up the attic door. You don't feel that temperature difference. If you go see a used house, you're going to open this door and you're going to feel this heat come down. We are in the South. You're going to feel the heat. come down. We're going to demonstrate that piece, make sure they understand that the temperature differentiation is minimal for us. We're going to put our hand up against the window and show them the temperature difference.
Right.
There's no difference.
So I think these investments and innovations are actually a net negative for a builder if they don't do the right things from a sales and marketing perspective. If it's a default price per square foot comparison and you're not selling and communicating the value of something new, then you lose.
It's all in the demonstration. You have to demonstrate why you're selling a brand new home versus a used house. You have to make sure you differentiate those two things.
Yeah, so you've got another regional feature there that I think everybody needs to know about, the game day porch.
Yeah, we call it our Hughston Homes signature game day porch. It's something Jack came up with years ago, and again, you train your sales team to take people out and envision their life. Their kids running around the backyard, they're grilling out, they're doing things, and they've got a fire going, or the football game on TV. Football's big in our part of the country, obviously, so you're going to see.
The number one thing people do in homes is sleep. The number two thing is watch TV. And a lot of times we don't show TVs in our model homes because there's no margin in TVs and it's not shared with the builder, but it's what a lot of people spend time doing. And you're all set up for a big screen TV out on that porch. I don't want to show my home technology roots, but I'm sorry.
Well, our marketing team does a great job showcasing that. Our marketing team and our sales team are very cohesive. They speak the same language, have the same verbiage for our marketing that they're going to hear from our sales team when they come in. That really helps with features like that.
So let's talk more about marketing. So, how are you promoting your differential? How are you getting the attention of buyers earlier in the process? I think you guys have a lot of different marketing efforts going on. Huh?
We do, and we have a great marketing department. Samantha Radloff over there does a great job. It really depends, John, on whether we have a presence in the market or we're trying to enter the market. If we're trying to enter a market, we're going to saturate early, 6 months before we even get there. If we already have a presence in the market, it depends on when we're opening a community, for example, it would depend on what we're trying to accomplish in other communities as to how heavily we market that. We're going to start with our market research. We're going to begin to put up signs, so people can see what's coming. Social media, or Facebook, Instagram, all these things. Those are things I think everybody leverages these days, and we try to be really consistent on those forums.
Richie, is your consumer research, your market research done in-house, or do you outsource that?
We do most of that in-house.
And what is it for 650 homes a year? What is your marketing team? How many people do you have?
We have 3 people that work in our marketing department.
Right.
And they're busy.
Yes, sir. Absolutely, they are.
What else do we got here? On the Edge, promoting in online listings and other aggregation areas to get the attention of more prospective buyers. So what are you doing out on social platforms and listings and such? Are you aggressive there?
Yes, we are. Again, it's consistency in those places, but we do look at where a majority of our home buyers are coming from. The geofencing piece for us, I assume everybody uses that to some degree, but with our SEO, keyword targeting for our websites, things of that nature. But the social media platforms drive a lot of that, and we try to, again, we start teasing these communities as they come. We're collecting a database of people in building anticipation, and we begin to hit these people with drip campaigns really early, coming soon. And we've used personalized. I've heard that word used a couple of times this morning already. The personalized on a schedule piece, because in most markets inventory is low, John. So rather than someone, and we really took an aim at this, rather than someone settling for a used house, we were trying to convince people to personalize on a schedule and let Hughston Homes build your brand new home to your liking instead of settling.
Yeah.
Thinking that's a powerful word.
Very cool. We're running out of time, and I think one of our lessons learned here, our first time event, is we need to make more time for folks like yourselves to talk.
Yes.
So that will be part of the plan for 2022, but we don't have time for questions, comments, takeaways, or to-dos. But I do need to ask the audience, how many people would hire Richie to do voiceover work for them?
Oh, I know. I asked Richie if he does any broadcast work on the
I'm
side. I
telling
mean,
you.
football or something.
A couple 100,000 a
Ready.
year, at least.
Do it.
So, Mark, everybody's email address, because there's probably things that you heard here that you want to learn more about. And one of the great things about working on this event has been the willingness to share. Even the biggest of the big companies and the folks that have secret sauce like yourselves that are growing real fast, the fact that you're willing to share. They're willing to share because used homes are the #1 competitor. It's not builder versus builder, it's used houses. You saw how big that slice of the pie is. Let's go get us some, okay? But let's give Alpha Vision a hand for sponsoring this session.
John.
And also to our great panelists, thank you for sharing your insights and experiences.